Alright, we are back with Bible study. This is not streamed live, so we're being recorded because the computer's jacked up, but I am recording it, I think. Tonight's Bible study is going to be kind of brief. We're going to start kind of taking a look at some scriptural facts that a lot of us have in error, some kind of assumptions we make. And what we're going to do is measure ourselves against the Word. We're going to take a look at a couple of examples, one example primarily, of measuring ourselves against the Word so we can first establish truth. All Scripture that is inspired is good for doctrine, study, and learning, and we can take a look and once we learn to trust in it, we'll be a lot better off. Alright, so we're going to that's wrong. Well, ignore that heading there, my slide. Measuring ourselves. We're the only ones that never watched the recording, so ignore this heading here. I guess that slide messed up. 2 Timothy 3:13. Who would like to read that for me? No, this is talking about the end of times, end of days as they come up. Go ahead.
But evil men and seducers shall wane worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived.
So it's saying at the end of the age, all the bad things it talks about happening in the Bible are going to happen worse and worse and worse and worse. And when you think it can't get any worse, it's going to get worse and worse and worse by people lying and people believing lies. We got a lot of that believing lies going on. Before we move on, I'll address a couple. Who's heard about the food stamp cut that's coming, the food stamp crisis or cliff? But basically they're talking about cutting $10. They're going to cut $10 from somebody's $200 worth of food stamps, or $178, depending on what state you live in. They're talking about $10. But you would think that they're going to go out and take all the food out of these people's houses and chain them to the desk or the floor where they can't eat nothing. They're talking about $10. And so they're trying to hype up all this hysteria and problem over $10. Even a family. If you're a family getting $800, children's benefits aren't cut. So instead of getting $800, you're going to get like $750 or $760. So I doubt any children are going to starve to death over $40. Because I promise you, if you eat beans and rice, $750 will feed a whole lot more than 6 people for a month. About $800 feeds all of us that stay here, and I don't think we eat too bad. We ain't eating beans and rice. Alright, so we're going to take a look at somebody that the kids have been looking over in their own Switched On Schoolhouse online studies, and that's King Herod. How many people in here have heard of King Herod? Is he a good guy or a less than good guy? Less than good guy. He was the Caesar-appointed king. He was the king of Judea when Christ was born, but really he was just a puppet of Rome. He was a puppet of the Roman Empire. And so we're not going to go over the scriptures because he's referenced several times for a lot of dirty deeds he did. But Matthew 2:16 through 18, you can reference there. And also in the story of the 3 wise men, he's the guy that sent the wise men out to find and kill Christ, Yeshua. And so, biggest thing that jumps out right away is King Herod. King Herod is held up as like the evil guy of the earth at this time, the king of wickedness. He ordered the death of all 2-year-olds. Estimates place that number at about 3,000 young boys. Come here, Elijah. Come here. Look here. Come here a minute. Hurry up. You're moving too slow. So, children half Elijah's age. Who in here loves Elijah? Who can imagine Sheriff Johnny Williams and a deputy coming down here and say, hey man, I got this warrant and I got to shoot your son. I'm sorry. Bow! Moving on to the next house. Bow! 3,000 times. That's pretty evil, isn't it? Yeah. That's pretty, well, number one, good thing I wasn't alive back then because it would have been more than killing a 2-year-old. Would have been a little more involved in it, I believe. How about you, Mother came and was going to kill David when he was 2? Would you just... So he killed 3,000 young kids around the age of 2 years old because the wise men tricked him and Jesus made it out into hiding. So he just, to pitch a fit and be a jerk, said kill all the 2-year-old boys. About 3,000 is what the historians put that number at. He was extremely paranoid. He spied on every person he could. He killed some of his family members. He put people in prison in chains with no questions asked. Spied on other kingdoms, went to war with them over nothing. He was insane. He was paranoid. Very paranoid. That was not good. He hired learned agents to complete dirty tasks and then turned on them when they chose to cease to do his bidding. I'm talking specifically about the 3 wise men. The 3 wise men were sought out. They found Jesus sometime when he was around 2 years old. He was living in a home somewhere with his parents, his natural earthly parents, and his family. Whoever was in that extended area, doesn't go over that a whole lot. But when they found him, they would not do Herod's bidding. But they knew, they were warned, that if they went back to Herod, he was going to torture him. Herod was going to torture him, find out where he was at, or trick him, or blackmail him, extort him, whatever it was, because he was nuts. And so they snuck and went on back home a different way. And as soon as he found out, he ordered the killing of all these kids. Now, that was just one example, but the 3 wise men, everybody hears about them. Oh, they came and they were bearing gifts, and well, they were actually sent by Herod the nut, the evil, the Hasatan's agent, and then they repented. They turned from that wickedness and fled, or escaped, and he psyched out. So, anybody here want to try to defend Herod? Anybody got anything good to say about Herod? Because I sure don't. Not a thing. He was a nut. Ordered the deaths of about 3,000 young children. Paranoid as he could be, locking people up, killing them for no cause, no purpose, based on his own delusions, spying on everybody. Hired learned agents, wise men to go out and do his bidding. When they refused to do his bidding for the Hasatan, and they repented and went away from his evilness, he tried to persecute him and go after him as best he could. So, now let's take a look at today. It's 2013. It's October 30th. All right. The current king of the Roman Empire, who is the leader of the free world? Barack Hussein Obama. Our esteemed president is what they tell us. Hope and change. Well, I hope we change presidents too. But anyway, let's see how much has changed since around 20 AD. Since around the turn of BC to AD. Alright, so our current president, our current leader, and I'm not singling him out politically. What I'm doing is showing you what this scripture says. It says as we get toward the closing of the age, the seducers, the evil, that word wax means grow. It'll get worse and worse and worse. Lies upon lies. Them being lied to and them lying. So, Obama, America, leads the charge. We got about 50 million abortions in America every year today. 50 million a year. So he's been president for 5 years. And with his pen, he could reduce, discourage, he could say something. But he promotes and supports it. In his 5 years so far, 1/4 of a billion abortions. 250 million. 250 million unborn children have been died. Now help me out. 250 million is less than or more than 3,000.
A lot more.
A lot more. See, you said more. That's because you went to public school. Homeschool kids said a lot more. No, how many more is it? A number. Peyton?
997,000.
There you go. That's pretty good. All right. All right. So now, would you say that from 3,000 to 250 million? And we'll give the benefit of the doubt. We'll say he did that in 1 year. Scripturally, based on historical references from the time, it looks like it actually took a year or two to execute because people were running around and trying to hide their children. We'll give the benefit of the doubt and say that happened in 1 year. 50 million compared to 3,000. I say that's a number That seems to fit up here where it says it's growing worse and worse. Wouldn't you say that qualifies? 3,000 to... has devised and directs spying on every American and most of the world, our allies. Every call, every email, every movement. They know everywhere you go, everything you do, every time you pick up this phone. Some people say they can hear through the phones that ain't even on. They can watch it through the TV. They got drones. They got all that. Would you say, how'd that compare to what Herod was doing?
That is a lot worse.
A lot worse. Well, Herod was killing people, though, with no cause. Well, what are we doing in Afghanistan and Pakistan with these drones? That we just bombing the ever-living hell out of people. Y'all going out to get eggs. Oops, sorry, I killed Trinity, Noah, and Peyton. They were going to get eggs. Sorry, we'll send you $5,000 to build you a suit. It's all right. Again, compared to two, I think that has definitely waxed more and more and more and more and more. Now, back in Herod's time, Herod didn't go and invade nobody. Herod wasn't out trying to conquer the world because he was under Rome's foot. Now, we're paranoid. America is paranoid, and they spy on everything. Our own allies. Germany, we're supposed to be our friends. We're spying on Mexico. Up here, we're talking about killing 50 million a year. In the 5 years he's been president, we've aborted more babies than people are alive in Japan. If you got every Japanese person and every Mexican in the world, it will be less people that have been aborted. But they say there's no war on people. So, paranoid. Worse and worse and worse. Alright, so now this one, you're going to say, now how's this one going to be hard? Because Barack Hussein Obama obviously don't have no wise men working for him because they can't even get healthcare.gov to work. They spent $1 billion and had 3 years. They spent as much money as the country of France has in a year to build this website. Use 10-year-old technology that works. So it don't sound like he's got too many wise men working for him in that area. What do you think? But let's take a step back here. We're not talking about people who are trying to do something good or try to create something. Not that I'm saying that healthcare is that. Remember, the wise men were not sent to help the Messiah. They were sent to seek him out so that Herod could put an end to him. So, anybody heard of anybody that's blown a whistle and got in trouble with Obama? How about the guy that came out and said, hey, we're spying on every phone call, every email. That guy had to, where did he go? First he flew to several places and ended up in Russia ultimately, where now he's been given political asylum because he said, you know what, as an American, I don't think it's right that we're spying on everybody. So he stopped doing Obama's bidding and came out. And then what did Obama do? Obama has sought him out at every place he's went. Forced other countries playing the land with their presidents on it, thinking that the guy was on there. Fool. Guess what? They'll lie and they'll be deceived. Forced the plane down. He thought he was on there. He wasn't on there, so he was deceived. Thought Russia was going to turn him over. Russia is not beholden to us. So Russia didn't do that. So what's the guy that Assad, WikiLeaks? That guy. He's come out with all this information. They just had a guy, he's on Twitter. We're in the land of free speech. But they just had a guy that worked in the White House, and he had a Twitter account, I think, and he was less than favorable on all the decisions. And so, was tweeting some things he didn't like. Free speech. We got free speech, right? That's what it tells you. You say whatever you want to say. Well, he got fired. They walked him out the White House. He's got no job. He's been discredited. Now, at the same time, that guy gets fired and walked out. Don't get me wrong. If I'm the president and you don't agree with what I'm doing, then you don't need to be working with me because I'm in charge. And if I'm in charge, I don't need you trying to sneak around behind me. I understand that part. Unfortunately, that's not the kind of guy we're dealing with because in Benghazi, we had, 15 hours of people getting murdered, begging for help, screaming for us to help. and we did nothing, and nobody got fired. Nobody got reprimanded. Nobody cared. It doesn't matter. It's not important. You're a conspiracy nut and a right-wing nut job if you even ask. Big Mike, David gets a little older. He goes off in the military. You find out, you hear the recordings of him calling and begging for help, and nobody does nothing for 10 minutes, much less 15 hours. Are you going to be, on a scale from 1 to 10, your happiness factor is not going to be too high, is it? Not going to be too. I'm going to tell you, mine's not, and they're going to lock me up. We're talking about locking people up without cause, being paranoid. They'll be very wise of them before they come and tell me that Noah begged for help for 15 hours and they didn't help him because for what, I don't care what the reason is. They'd be smart to go and pick me up, take me down to Guantanamo Bay ahead of time. That'd be smart. That wouldn't be paranoid. That'd be sound, logical thinking. So as we see these things waxing more and more and more and more, how stupid are we? We're pretty stupid, myself included. Because when we look back at the Bible and we hear about things in the Bible, we think, oh, that was real terrible what they were doing back then. Herod running around and killing thousands of babies. Do you know we bombed in the past 4 years? We have killed more than 3,000 children under the age of 10 with Predator drones. So how many people, when they've heard the story of Herod in the Bible, think, yes, that is horrible and evil that that rotten, dastardly man killed 3,000 babies? I know, I think it's rotten horrible. But we've done worse. Now, our modern era, we've done worse. When you hear about poisonings and killings back in those times, when in those stories, things that are related to us, how many people are getting poisoned now with fluoride and chemicals and dying of cancer and all that stuff? A whole lot more than was dying then. Under this deception heading, we're going to talk about, some people have sent me a lot of questions, and I'm trying to address them. Some of them, a couple of them are going to have to be a study because I think there's some other things to be learned in it. One of them that doesn't have to be is there's this huge movement of folks now that say that there's some entities of mixed blood on earth. And by mixed blood, I mean part human and part fallen angel that predate the flood. Now, that's kind of a deep subject, but that is one reason that the Most High, He looked down and saw all the wickedness and angels, fallen angels mixing with women and having children, and He decided He was going to put an end to it and called the only righteous man He could find. Who was that?
Jesus.
No, this is
Moses.
no.
Never?
He was going to clean the world. No. He called Noah and told Noah to do what?
Build an ark.
Build an ark. And then who did Noah witness to get it for help? His family, his sons. They dropped what they were doing and they came and built the ark. And then the Most High set out from the beginning. He says, exactly what I want you to do. I want you to build it this way, this way, this way. These animals are coming. These clean ones, you shall bring food. These unclean ones will be there, but don't you dare eat them. And then I am going to destroy life on the earth, wipe out all the wickedness, and kill it all. And then Noah did what? And then the animals did what? And then then it started to do what? And it rained for how long? 40 days and 40 nights. Now, Yah said He was going to flood the earth and cleanse it of all that impurity. And then it rained. Now, who has ever entertained the thought, or who believes that Yah would, with all His might and intent, set out to do something and fail? He don't fail, right? So that thinking, that backwards thinking, that deceptive thinking, that deceptive argument that some of us have snuck through, you can't sneak through. There is no sneak through because He's infallible and knows everything. So whatever may or may not be here now obviously does not predate the flood. Unless it's Noah or his sons. So that one we can veto right out. Don't even entertain it. So if somebody tells you, oh, these people survived the flood, if their name won't, if they were not of the line of Noah, you can stop right there. Click on. Because that means either that person is the truth and the Most High is a liar, or vice versa. And so we know that the Most High does not lie, so therefore that makes that easy. Another real easy one to blow up. If you're white, you can't get salvation. You're not worthy. If you're black, you can't get salvation. You're not worthy. If you're Japanese, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Because all the way at the beginning, since the beginning, there's been one law for the native born and one law for the stranger. The mixed multitude all along. So it doesn't matter whoever starts telling you some racist crap. Whatever it is, how many people have read the hundreds of times in there it talks about Jesus' flowing blonde hair and blue eyes? Anybody? That's not in my. I'm sure they got a version that's got that in it, but that's not in there. That's not part of it. How many people have read in there how he had black curly hair, skin dark as black, and flaring nostrils, and read that hundreds of times? It doesn't speak about it at all. Matter of fact, it only speaks about when he returns, his hair be like wool, his skin be like burnt bronze, and that's it. Now we got some common sense about us. We know that Yeshua was not Irish. He was probably not a Pueblo Indian. He'd have been real out of pace as a Pueblo Indian. We know he had to been somebody that could go into hiding in Egypt and blend in. So that kind of narrows it down because Europeans weren't there at the time. But any of that racist crap is automatically out because it doesn't matter. Oh, they're going to change their name to, Heba, Kaba, Yasserala. But that doesn't matter. Whatever their made up name it is that they change, doesn't matter if they go to a racist line, then they are not bringing the doctrine of that Bible. So we can set those aside easily. Going into the time of year where everybody needs to be spiritually on guard, because tomorrow is a pretty big, if you're one of these regular Americans, tomorrow is a pretty big day. You get to dress up like a devil, go out threaten people for candy, and as parents, I don't know if Big Mike store. We're going to go to Walmart next month. Charlie's going to be standing out in front of Walmart. I'll find myself Because you hear that little music. And it like snatches. I don't walk around singing no other song. Peyton brought some song about what does a fox say, and for a day or so we run around here going, what does that? Because the only part that amazes me is the fox doesn't make the noise that they got the fox making. So that's neither here nor there. But that Christmas music, those spirits that's in that music, when we hear it, it's catchy. It just wraps you up. And so don't underestimate the power of that, and don't fall, victim to it, because we know we're not supposed to learn the customs of the pagans. Because I just had a thing on Facebook where someone who is not in the faith, they say they're a person in the Bible, but they don't live any of it, so they have no fruit. But they said, well, no, we don't. They came to me. I didn't come to them. They come to me and said, my church is doing trunk or treat. And I don't believe that we ought to do witchcraft or anything that's satanic. So we're going to go do it at church. That way we can put Jesus in the trunk or treat. And I said, oh, okay, well. I said, now you understand you're already convicted that Halloween, going out and dressing up like a devil and doing these customs is sin. And they were like, well, yes. I was like, okay, so you're going to take Christ and interject him in your sin, and that's going to make it okay. And she's like, well, I really believe so. I said, have you thought about it? They said, yes. So I came back to them the next day. I said, have you thought about it some more? They said, yeah. So then I had to take the easy gloves off. And this lady is married. I said, well, I'll tell you what. I ain't going to use her name, but I'll tell you what. How about I come over there, and I'll bend you over your dining room table while your husband watches. And I'll have sex with you while he watches. And halfway through, we're going to stop and pray, read a Bible verse, then I'm going to finish and we'll be done. And of course, she was offended. Imagine that. What in the world? I was like, well, it's a sin. You've already admitted that the pagan custom is a sin, right? Okay, well, adultery is a sin. What if I was to murder your shit, that they just had a child that had a surgery? I said, what if somebody had murdered your child, but in the middle of it had stopped the murder and said, I'm doing this just because I love Jesus, and then they got offended. But I tried easy gloves and they didn't want to take it. So keep that in mind, that all sin is equal. And so if you're gonna dress up like Santa Claus, don't shortchange yourself and sell out cheap. I was talking to a lady at the farmer's market today. Talked to them for quite a good while. She's gone to a Baptist church her whole life. She started asking me questions. She said something about I don't think she had noticed that when Kim's out there, Kim's head's always covered. She's wearing a skirt or a dress. But she noticed that when all three girls were out there today. So she was like, are all their heads covered on purpose? And I said, well, yes. And she asked me why. So I told her why. So my children are in submission to my wife and myself. My wife is in submission to me, and I am in submission to y'all. And so that turned into what? An hour and a half. Had a whole people at the farmer's market said, told Kim, well, your husband's got an audience down there, because they were real curious. They heard the truth. And so there was one amongst them that kept trying to, well, yeah, but are you going to stone somebody to death? I'm not going to stone anybody to death. There's people that need to be stoned to death, but I'm not going to do it. I wish that it was in a place that we could stone people to death, but I can't do that. That's not where we're at today. I can't make people do right. But be aware of that. Any questions on what we went over? Think about all the Bible stories you've heard and all the scriptural exploits and so forth that you're familiar with, and try in your own mind to directly extrapolate them. That means to take them out and lay them in a modern context. Try to look at them today. Look at the evils of the past and the goods of the past. We had two cities, two small areas back in the day, Sodom and Gomorrah. That there was a bunch of faggots. And the Most High dealt with it. If he was going to deal, and now he didn't just destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, he destroyed the cities around them. He destroyed it. If the Most High reached down from his throne today and destroyed all around faggots, I'm glad he don't do that. Because there wouldn't be nobody left. Because they're everywhere. because we've accepted them. We tolerate them. We endure them. We befriend them. And so that's not to say we should ostracize them or stone them to death. That's not what I'm saying. But just like if you meet somebody shooting up crack, you're not going to go sit at their house while they shoot up crack. You're going to try to get them off crack. And if they refuse to get off crack, you're going to find somewhere else to be. Some people, that's real quick. They see somebody, they realize they're in the sin, they won't get out of it, and they just move on with no harm, no foul to them. Some people fall in love with them, have children, and then have to break away later on. Some people do that after a year. Some people do that after 12 years. Some people are 40 and 50 years old still dealing with some wicked-ass, sinful person. So try to take those things from the past and make sure that you apply them in a current context. If the Most High tells you to come out of a First Day church, which we've all done here, so that's that's not on us. But as an example, when Lot left, his wife was leaving with him. She was good to go. She had a ticket out. And the instructions to Lot was, tell your family nobody look back. And then what'd she do? Like most hard-headed women. She looked back. So now the Most High has called you out and said, okay, you just follow my way and I'm going to protect you and provide for you. Has he failed to provide for us? He's provided. All we got to do is obey. Not look back and get jacked or called off the path by this person, that person, whatever. All right, y'all be encouraged. Noah, would you like to close us in prayer? I think you can. Stand up and do it, Noah.
Sit down and do it.
No, you just stand up and do it.
Thank you for letting us have this Bible study tonight. Hope everybody watching keeps safe. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Can I get up?